First, an important disclaimer. I'm going through the whole mix process here by only listening in my headphones. You should always listen to what you're doing in a sound system that can give you feedback of as much as the whole spectra as possible. Otherwise you might leave weird sounds in the subwoofer or in the tweeters. Listen in a system and headphones that you're used to listen to commercial music in, so that you know the frequencies. And also, before you're done, listen in other stereos and environments, like in the car. Also use frequency analyzers, so that you can see what you're doing. Let's start. I will change the BPM of the song. I increase it by 10 to 104. Now I will on the main stereo out add a channel EQ. I'm leaving it flat because I'm just going to use it to analyze the frequencies of each channel. I will start with the first instrument, but not the drums. Play it and take notes of its frequency range. And then I'll continue with the next instrument, here Bellatrix. And I'll continue taking notes of each instrument. This will help me when filtering so that I can create frequency pockets to let other instruments shine through. If there are many instruments playing over a wide range and some other playing shorter range within the wide range, then these instruments will drown in the wide range instruments' sound. Here I will create pockets for the little ones so that they can be heard too. It's just like when many people are talking. It's hard to hear what one of them is saying. It would be easier if all the people's voices were in different frequency ranges. Also, important to note down what part of the instrument that needs to be kept. The clear speaking frequency part of the instrument, because you would like to keep that part as intact as you can. And when I'm done doing this, I start adding compressors to each channel. But first I'll show you my new instrument that I've added. It's Alchemy with the preset Atheist Pop Synth Arpeggiator. And it sounds like this. And this loops over the choruses and each bridge out. And now I will add a compressor to each channel, starting from the top with the drums. I will turn off the auto gain and also auto release, because I want full control myself. I set the threshold so that the compressor will handle 0 to -5 decibels on this one, but a kind of hard ratio. And a medium knee size, 0.5. And an attack that is around 50 milliseconds. I'll take 37 here. And a release that will be fast enough so that it has fully recovered when the next beat hits the threshold. And I'll check the graph. Seems alright to me. And then on the drums, I will add the EQ directly too. And I also take notes of their frequency ranges. And then start some shaping. Here I'm cutting out in a slope below 45 Hz, adding a cue that will bring a hump in the kick drum bass area. And I will add a 1 decibel high shelf over 7800 Hz to make it breathe. But, as you can hear, the hi-hat is too high, at least for my taste. So I will add a multi-compressor that will address mostly the hi-hat, pushing it down a bit. I'm doing it this way because the hi-hat is baked in the drum loop, so that I can't just lower the volume of it. I will bypass all the other bands. You can also shut these bands off by pressing their numbers. I will make the band wider to 3900 Hz and lower it to -4.5 decibel, and I will add some soft compression to it. And I will listen to it and decide if it's good. And I think it is. And now I will add a compressor to the next channel. Keeping it processing between 0 to -5 decibel. This will do some leveling, just enough for my taste. And I will wait with the EQ on the instruments that are not drums. So I'll continue with the next channel, adding a compressor to the Bellatrix. When I set the compressor, I set a longer attack time to sounds that have a greater attack, like drums and plings, bells. Greater attack in the sounds means longer attack, to keep as much of it as possible intact. And softer sounds means shorter attack time, like soft synths, etc. That's just a rule of thumb that I have. But listening is always the most important part. This sounds nice. Let's hear it with the drums and the lead instrument too. Yeah, that will do. And I will continue adding compressors. When setting the compressor, you should always fine-tune them while listening on the complete mix. The bending around synth has a softer attack, so I'll take a shorter attack time here. Attack and release seems to happen in time. On the bright synth patterns, I'll set the threshold just to handle the tippy tops. And a softer knee size. And a shorter release because the attacks are coming fast in this sound. That's a soft one. I'll take it. And the chained male has a bell kind of attack, so I'll go for a longer attack time here, 38 milliseconds. And once again, a shorter release mainly because the attacks are fast coming. The threshold was a little bit low. That will make my day. I will step over the bass because we will give that one special treatment later. Time for the next drum channel. The crowded break and the big room snare, I think the name was. "50 milliseconds attack." Some makeup gain. Done there. That will do. And add a EQ to shape it a bit. Low cut at 50 Hz with a cue that will bring push to the kick. And a 1 decibel high shelf over 8000 Hz to make it breathe thin air. And now the addictive drums cymbals. You should always be gentle to cymbals when setting the compressor. A gentle touch, threshold. And a gentle ratio. Be gentle. A soft knee, 0.6. Longer attack. I'll add some makeup gain here too. Here, I only add a small high shelf at 5900 Hz. And now the last channel, the new instrument. Here I'll be gentle too, because this is the topmost melody instrument in the chorus. We don't want to ruin the clarity by destroying the attack of the sound. With a touchy threshold, but I'll bring up the ratio pretty hard anyway. A soft knee and a longer attack because of the attack in the sound. And a shorter release because the attacks are kind of frequent. And then it's time for the special treatment of the dirty growling bass. I will add 2 sends on this channel. One to bus 30 and one to bus 31. And full send at 0 on both. And since we are sending it to these buses, I'm going to remove the signals out from here to the speakers. And here are the new buses, 30 and 31. I'll rename them to bass low. And bass high. The low part will just handle the low frequencies of the bass, and I'll change the low part to mono. We don't want the low bass part to dance around between the speakers. Here I'll add an EQ with a high cut at, let's say, 356 Hz. This channel will be the one ducking for the kick drum. And now the high part, kept in stereo, adding an EQ but here with a low cut at 344 Hz, just playing the high end. So now these two buses sounds like this together. Just like the original sound. Well, I will lower the volume of the high part bus a bit. And now it's time to let the low part duck for the kick drum. I will add a compressor that has sidechain. And I'll move the compressor topmost in the plug-in chain. And in the sidechain drop down, I'll choose Audio Wild West Beat on Audio 1. And here we can see the kick drum kick in. I'm going to be hard ducking for the kick here, because the bass has almost no attack. It's kind of round, and will drown the attack of the kick. Therefore, I'm going to duck the low end part of this dirty bass hard. With a fast attack, letting the kick speak, and a release so that the bass will be back fully after the kick attack. I'll add some makeup gain, 3 dB, and also 5 dB output gain. That's perfect. It's all about taste. You might want less or more, but this stays with me for now. First I increased the volume in the compressor, and now I want to lower the volume again. It would be better if I did it in the compressor again, but I'll do it here anyway. Don't tell my mother. Time to add a compressor to the high part bus 2. But this is not for ducking. I'll set it to something gentle. By the way, there are other ways to sidechain, ducking the low end of the bass, but I'm showing you the way that can be done with any compressor and EQ that might lack this functionality. And this way that I'm showing is the same process going on within these plugins anyway. Here we are doing it ourselves, with full control over the process. I'll move this compressor first in line 2. And now, after looking at the notes from noting down all the instrument's frequencies, it's time to make some frequency pockets to let other instruments be heard too. Make it less muddy in the complete mix. I'm adding low cuts sometimes when it doesn't seem necessary. And no, it's not necessary here. I'm doing it just in case I'll change the notes someday and the frequencies might end up down there. But no, not necessary. But now to the important parts. I'll add a band around 440 Hz, pushing it down minus 1.8 decibel to let other instruments be heard more within this range. And add a small lifting shelf from 2260 Hz. Yeah. And let's address the bright synth patterns. That isn't that bright. It has much bassy stuff going on, which is ruining our own dirty bass. Here I'll cut away down from 78 Hz. And add a low shelf at 580 Hz. And a 1 decibel high shelf. I think I was too hard on the low shelf. I'll bring it up to minus 2.5. And the chained male, adding a low cut at 75 Hz. And a band at 535 Hz to push the mountain down. By minus 1.3 decibels. changing the Q to 1. And down the road, we'll have a low shelf at 600 Hz. Pushing it down by -2. And a high shelf at 5500 Hz. Lifting it up by 1 decibel. Mwah. By 1.1, just to ease my mind. And now bring in some of the other instruments to hear what we have done. Yeah, sounds good enough. And now back to the new instrument. Here I'm going to add a low shelf at 1K. Lower it by -1.2 decibel. And now for the bus 31, the high part of our bass. I'm going to add some widening by adding a stereo spread plugin. And I will also do this for the Down the Road channel. This stereo spreader is kinder against phasing issues than the ones that are delaying sound to create the impression of being more in stereo. But this stereo spreader that I'm using here can still destroy transients and make the sound muddy, so be careful and listen. You should always take a listen to your mix in mono too, so that your mix isn't phasing in mono either. And now I will also add a stereo spreader to the Bellatrix channel. And I'll set them to over 500 Hz, because we don't want to spread around the bass across the speakers, if there are any. On this one I'm mostly doing it to make all 12th orders compact within the range. If you don't know how this stereo spreader works, feel free to ask in the comments. Now it's time to set the volume of each channel. I'll begin with the top, with the main drums, and go downwards until I reach the end. After I'm done, I take a break to come back to it later, to see what my brain has been missing while trolling those faders. And I'll let the new lead melody instrument float on top, like if it were vocals. And now I will pan the bending around synth and the bright synth patterns. And take a listen. Sounds good. Now I will add a multi-compressor to the main stereo out. I leave the sub part and start adding a gentle compression to number 2. And a gentle touch on the band of number 3. And now on the high end number 4. Easy on this part. You don't need much, because the high end is more sensitive to changes. If you remember what I was talking about in a previous video. I don't remember the name now. Well, and too much can also introduce a weird bleeding sound, and not a too long attack and release. Remember, the frequencies here are fast vibrations. Always check with the bypass button to see if you're overdoing it. If you know that it is compressing but can't hear that it is, then you are on the right path. Now I will make some changes to the EQ, adding a low cut at 35 Hz. but with a push above like a long hill, over the kick and bass part. This setting will not affect the sub-bass too much. I'll add a hill around 1K, here 990 Hz. With a lift of 1.3 decibels. And a not so narrow Q. Don't add too narrow changes in the complete mix, and never more or less than +5 or -5 decibels. That will only introduce sounds that shouldn't even be there, or was there from the beginning. And I'll add a breather, a high shelf at 6500 Hz, lifting it 1 decibel. And now for the final touch. I'm adding a limiter, also to the main stereo out channel, an adaptive limiter. The ceiling depends on where the mix is going to be played. I have no purpose and will set it to 0.1. And I will increase the gain until I see some soft reductions going on. That's it. We made a mix. Let's hear it all.